All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're grabbing our magnifying glasses and putting on our detective hats. We're about to crack a case that's super common, but honestly, pretty misunderstood.
So let's just get right into it. You know what I'm talking about? Those little white flakes that show up especially on a dark shirt. Is it snow? Nope. It's not some personal winter wonderland on your shoulders. It's actually something, well, a lot more biological.
Okay, so with any good detective story, the first step is to identify the evidence, right? So let's kick off our investigation here by figuring out exactly what we're looking at. So here's our first big clue. Dandruff, it's not just, dry skin. And it has absolutely nothing to do with being dirty or unclean. It's actually a real medical condition with a fancy name. Seborrheic dermatitis. All that means is your scalp is basically shedding its skin cells way, way too fast. And hey, if this sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. I mean, look at this number. It affects about half of all adults on the entire planet. So yeah, you're in very, very good company. All right, so we've defined the crime scene, so to speak. Now it's time to meet our main suspect, this tiny little organism that's right at the heart of the whole mystery. And believe me, this is where the story starts to get really interesting. And here it is. Meet the prime suspect, a tiny microscopic fungus, or yeast if you prefer, called Molasses globosa. Now the wild thing is, this little guy lives on pretty much all of our skin. It's just that for some of us, it decides to stir up a little trouble. So let's pull up the suspect profile here. This fungus, it's not just passing through. Oh no, it basically moves in right after we're born, sets up a permanent home in our hair follicles, and gets pretty comfy. And its motive, or, well, its menu, it loves to chow down on the natural oils, the sebum that our scalps make. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question, right? How in the world do the eating habits of this tiny little tenant cause such a huge dramatic reaction from our skin? I mean, a fungus eating oil, and that leads to flakes? Let's connect the dots. This really breaks it down perfectly. See, on a normal day, your skin just quietly renews itself over, say, 3 weeks. Old cells fall off, and you never even notice. But when dandruff enters the picture, that whole process goes into complete overdrive. It gets inflamed, irritated, and it starts pumping out new cells so fast that they all clump together. And that is what we see as flakes. So here's the play-by-play, the chain reaction. Step 1. The fungus feasts, but it's a picky eater. It only likes the saturated fats in your scalp's oil. Step 2, it leaves behind all the unsaturated stuff. Think of it like a kid eating the frosting and leaving the cake. Step 3, those leftovers soak into your skin and kind of weaken its natural protective wall. And finally, step 4, your body's alarm system goes off. It senses this breach, freaks out a little, and causes all that inflammation and itchiness. It revs up cell production to fix the damage, and boom, that massive overreaction is what we call dandruff. All right, so we've got our culprit and we know its methods. The big question now is, how do we fight back? Well, now that we understand what's actually causing it, the plan of attack becomes a whole lot clearer. Your action plan is all about targeting the cause, not just the symptoms. First up, using a gentle antifungal shampoo is key. That helps keep the Molasses globosa population in check. Washing your hair daily also helps because it reduces the oil it feeds on and washes away any of that skin cell buildup. Now, you might have to try a few different shampoos to see what works best for you. And of course, if the problem just won't go away, it's always a good idea to chat with a doctor. But wait, just when you think we've wrapped up the case, put it all to bed, there's a final twist, a last surprising clue that we need to look at. The investigation isn't quite over. And here it is, the final reveal. Turns out our little microscopic friend isn't just living on your head. Remember, seborrheic dermatitis is all about oil glands, so it can pop up anywhere you've got a lot of them. We're talking eyebrows, inside your ears, around your nose, armpits, even your belly button. And that brings us to one last really fascinating question. If this fungus lives on basically half the world's population, why isn't everyone's head a winter wonderland? Why do some of us get dandruff and others don't? Well, the answer seems to be in our own unique biology. Scientists think it has to do with how our individual immune systems react, maybe even our genetics. It just goes to show you, even with a case this common, there's always another layer to the mystery.